Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and yeah, we've got a lot more news today. Unfortunately, I was not able to make this as part of the first video because the blog was sent really hot to us, but we have a faction focusing around the Changeling and all his units, basically going into detail on how they'll work on the battlefield, any special effects and so on. So it kind of makes sense anyway to cover it in its own video as a announce video and then, you know, a faction focus thing. But I'm really excited about this because the Changeling is a character that I've been waiting for a while. Funny enough, I've just recently repainted him as I am getting my armies ready for the old world. So yeah, let's just jump right in and read over these rather interesting cult mechanics. So first we get some information regarding the Blue Scribes, the legendary hero that are part of the paid for content. So yeah, let's just read over it. Riding atop their Disc of Tzeentch, the Blue Scribes are a pair of powerful blue horrors. Tzaangors and Xirat, they soar across the mortal and eternal realms, squabbling amongst themselves as they locate fragments of Tzeentch and bind them in parchment. Awesome, so the old lore still returns here. This is great. Actually, we'll have a lore video on these guys soon. I'm actually really happy because it's part of stuff that might not still be canon, but it's a nice little throwback. But let's continue. With a quill in each hand crafted from Tzeentch's own feathers, Tzaangors scrolls with abandon before passing it off to Xirat, who reads the words aloud to check their accuracy, unleashing devastating spells from the Lord of Change. Often drawn into battle while searching for hotspots of powerful and destructive magic, the Blue Scribes face many dangers. When threatened, Xirat will read spells at random, trusting his true master to guide his hand forward the correct scroll for the occasion. Though Tzeentch is never truly random, the results can be spectacular, unpredictable, and bizarre. Okay, now we're jumping into the actual faction mechanic. As a wacky caster, this legendary hero grows in power as spells are cast around them thanks to their spell siphon passive. Okay, that's going to be quite good considering, yeah, you're going to get stronger spells, and this is going to be a character with a lot of spells, because we can see here, meanwhile their innate ability, Scrolls of Sorcery, grants a random selection of spells at the start of battle. These are shuffled and randomized once again whenever a spell is cast. So I'm assuming we'll get like the usual 6 spells, but then it will just randomly change. I imagine since this is going to be based on the older lore, they're going to have access to the lore of Tzeentch and then pretty much all the color magic laws, which, yeah, is going to sound really cool. It's going to be completely random, so sometimes you'll have some really good spells, sometimes you'll have some garbage, but I really like the idea of this. Honestly, the element of randomness, especially for Tzeentch, is very important. Not only that, but I mean, how cool is that, right? It's something that we really haven't seen before, well, barring the whole Cataclysm spell system, which I imagine that they got and just updated for this. But yeah, this is great. This is great. Hopefully we can see that a lot more. I'd love to kind of see that with Kairos in the future, because Kairos right now has the whole skill slot system. It's not really great considering that you have to spend skill points, which are kind of limited when you're trying to boost up your Legendary Lord's potential. Yeah, this is awesome. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so now we've got the Changeling himself. The Changeling is the Changer of the Ways' latest demon of Tzeentch, and perhaps the most cunning. Just a little thing here, he's not the latest demon of Tzeentch in terms of actual lore, it's just because of the DLC content. I don't want people to get confused. Anyways, his true form is lost to time, with only Tzeentch recalling his real appearance. This horror's commitment to meddling allows him to mirror other legendary characters not just in appearance but also in personality and mannerisms. As a lover of conflict, confusion, and discordance, the Changeling uses warfare as a distraction for those consumed with violence are easily deceived, and when realization finally dawns, it will almost certainly be too late. Utilizing spells from the lore of Tzeentch, the Changeling claims the forms of those he defeats / forms an alliance with through the Formless Horror ability. He can then pick and choose from this collection over the course of a campaign, mimicking their stats, abilities, spells, and appearance. Yeah, pretty much the tabletop version. So in the tabletop, if you started dueling another character or whatever, you could actually take their form, which is actually great. You can really have a benefit there. So I love this. This is great. I wasn't really expecting being able to pick and choose though, so that's fantastic. I love this. With a passive ability, Cloaked and Cowled, the Changeling gains a defensive buff, allowing him to stalk his prey, remaining hidden while on the move and gaining a boost to his ward save. That's awesome. That is freaking cool. I'm actually quite happy about that. It means that he's going to be relatively strong even in possibly demon form. So yeah, I mean, being able to stalk and cast spells of Tzaangors is going to be really good anyway. And let's continue here. But that's not all. With the active ability Deceiving Shadows, he can create illusions resembling his natural form that roam the battlefield, toying with your opponent's grip on reality. Trust no one. Yeah, this is freaking awesome. I love the idea of this. So yeah, you're going to be able to essentially just confuse stuff. I wonder if the AI will get confused about this too. I'm imagining so, because yeah, the AI is not great for Total War, but I kind of like the idea. It means you can have a pseudo character just going around being by himself, and the AI range, for example, might start targeting that and wasting ammunition. I'm imagining that these things, these illusions, will only last for a certain amount of time, which kind of makes sense, but yeah, kind of can't wait to see how this plays. Alright, now we're jumping into the faction mechanics, and the first thing is the Trickster cults. The Changeling does not care for settlements of his own. Indeed, he outright refuses to capture any. Instead, he infiltrates already established settlements and plants his cults deep within the city walls. After besting a settlement in battle, the Changeling may choose to sack or raze what he has conquered, or instead sneak in his cults undetected. From the enemy's perspective, he's attacked, taken what he's wanted, and left as quickly as he appeared. If only this were true. Now ruling secretly from within, the Changeling may construct either parasitic or symbiotic buildings within a settlement for a variety of benefits, achieving a delicate balance for long-term gain or indulging in short-term chaos. I kind of like the idea of that. So you've got two different types of unique cults. It's not the ones that we're already used to with, say, for example, Kairos. These are supposed to be fairly unique. I like that. Okay, so let's jump in. We've got a screenshot, but we'll look at that in a second. Symbiotic buildings can increase the settlement's main income, upping how much treasure can be siphoned from it. Okay, and spreads propaganda to improve diplomacy and turn factions against one another. On the other hand, parasitic buildings are designed to cripple the host settlement, enabling the spread of corruption in an infiltrated region, opening rifts for demon armies to ravage the settlement, or plundering it from within without the need to siege the city walls. Just remember, a parasite is more easily discovered than a mere symbiote. Ultimately, however, the Changeling loves chaos. When a faction has learned to trust him, he may opt to self-destruct his secret buildings and deploy his own armies, spawn rebellions at the border, or plunder the settlement without ruffling too many feathers. Stealth is key, however, as making too much noise increases the risk of being discovered, and Karl Franz isn't going to be happy when he learns that Naldor has been used as a conduit for the Change of Ways' most perplexing prankster. Dude, this sounds pretty damn fun. I'm actually quite excited about this because it does seem like you're going to have quite a lot of options. I do like the idea of symbiotic stuff being able to boost the other faction. You can kind of use them as their puppets type of thing. And then the parasitic one you can be a bit more destructive with. So I would suggest, like, say, for example, symbiote with Karl Franz, but maybe cause some trouble to, say, Kislev, because they've got a lot of armor piercing, so be parasitic with them. Maybe that's something that could be done. I don't know, this sounds really, really interesting. It does sound like a very unique campaign. So yeah, there's not too much to talk about here. We can see the UI. You've got both different cults. It's pretty much there. There's no sacking option, which kind of makes sense, I guess. Just direct cults and raising. Interestingly enough, we do have another type of currency, which I imagine is going to be covered in this blog, because it's right next to the Grimoires. Yeah, it's pretty clean. I must say, I am kind of curious how a Tzaangor faction without building up is going to be. Obviously, we've kind of got that with the Warriors of Chaos Village, but this is like no settlements whatsoever. I imagine it's going to be very much, trying to move around kind of quickly. There's definitely a roleplay aspect there, and I guess if you use like the change start position mod, that's going to allow you to play the same campaign over and over, but just with a different result. Yeah, I kind of like the idea. Okay, now we've got the next mechanic known as schemes. The Changeling perceives the world as a series of theaters, battlegrounds of wits in which he can enact schemes that sow discord, gain rewards, open rifts, and continue onwards along the path to the grand scheme. With enough schemes enacted within a theater, perhaps by taking the form of Manfred von Karlstein and commanding his thralls to perform a ritual at Castle Drakenhof, a grand Grand Scheme becomes available. This triggers a mighty set-piece battle that, when victorious, showers the Changeling with special rewards and campaign-changing consequences. Okay, this sounds really, really interesting. It's nice to see theaters return also. That was a thing from, oh god, Empire, I think? Which is quite nice in general because obviously they're going back to all the Total War titles and thinking, hey, what can we bring forward? Something that a lot of people have been asking for too. The Changeling scheming doesn't just exist within the campaign layer either. He can use the resources gained from schemes to assist in battle, and throw off the opponent's strategy with wildcard spells and abilities. Take down Orion's forces, Orion himself, while leveling the battlefield with Skaven Doom Rockets for some expected destruction, or acquire Khorne's Chainsword and use it against him. The Changeling doesn't simply play chess, he flips the board over. Dude, this sounds freaking epic. I know a lot of people are like going to be saying, well, this sounds very complicated. But nah, dude, this sounds freaking awesome. A Tzaangors faction, especially a DLC faction, is always going to get new mechanics and so on. It does look like we might have the usual stuff because obviously Grimoires is still a thing. But in general, I love this. Tzaangors factions need to be kind of complicated because of how Tzaangors is. So yeah. So far, really excited about the Changeling. I'm really, really keen. Okay, so we can see the scheme stuff on screen right now. There looks to be its own different button thing. So you've got a scheme for the Chaos Waste, Darklands, the Mountains of Morn, Grand Cafe, Norskin, Kislev, and the Empire. Okay, so I'm assuming, yeah, this is the Realm of Chaos map. I just saw the mini-map. Hopefully, when it comes to the Immortal Empires, there'll be more schemes. Like, you know, for the Southlands and Lustria and Ogeron and so on. It does seem like you have a certain amount. We can see the Empire here. He's done 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. But there's actually 5, 6, 7 in total. And it does lead up to a battle. So the ultimate scheme is a final battle for each section. Where your reinforcements are the World Walkers, Laborer Rebels, okay, and a Tzaangor cult. You're fighting against Reichland, which seems to be grayed out. I guess it's because there's a scheme to knock them out. The Dwarf forces, Cafe forces, and Kislev forces. Dude, this sounds really, really cool. I'm imagining that all these battles are going to be fairly unique, so it's going to allow for just a lot more theming. It does seem like Tzaangors is getting a lot of attention here. Hopefully we can see the same for all the other factions. But this is something that I'm very, very keen on. Okay, so we can talk about the units now, which we have proper unit descriptions, not just like the Steam page. So the first is the Tzaangors. Drawn to magic just like the blue scribes before them, Tzaangors are unnatural beastmen now serving the Lord of Change. Their animalistic savagery combines well with their keen and cruel intellect. With axes of bone, iron, or crystal at their side, the Tzaangors are the perfect fast flankers with a penance for a hit-and-run style of combat. Utilize their innate Vanguard deployment to quickly get to the action, increase their weapon strength with Arcane Charge when in the vicinity of magic, and retreat into the woods to stalk the enemy before striking once more. Okay, so Vanguard, pretty good. The fact is, you're going to have an armored and shield Vanguard unit, which is going to be insane. The fact that they can also get stronger with Arcane Charge is also going to be quite beneficial. Yeah, these are going to be quite good. Honestly, goddamn. I wonder how they're going to pair up with, say, like Chaos Warriors of Tzaangors. It might get to the point that you just might replace the Chaos Warriors with these guys. Yeah, I mean, I've got no complaints. The only thing I will complain about is just they're not visually distinct. I mean, yes, they have unique shields from what we've seen in the trailer and so on, but it would have been nicer if they would have looked a little bit more avian, kind of like the Age of Sigmar variant. It's likely that Games Workshop didn't allow them to be able to do that, which is perfectly fine. Obviously, we know that not everything from Age of Sigmar can be pointed over, but yeah, I mean, these sound pretty good. These sound actually pretty damn good. No complaints from me whatsoever. Vanguard, essentially, Bestigors with shield. Freaking insane. And we know that these can be used by the Beastmen too, so goddamn, really happy about that. And now we got the Cockatrice, which I'm really excited about because it looks really damn cool. It looks just like the miniature, obviously with a different styling, because the miniature was on a 50 base and it was just kind of like resting on its own tail. But this just looks so nice. It's one of my favorite models. It's been one of my favorite ones to paint. So yeah, though seldom found beyond its lair, the Cockatrice is an unsettling avian beast, tainted by the forces of chaos. They are known to be hunted by Bretonnian knights, not because they fear their strength, but rather their intelligence. Soaring through the sky as a monstrous offensive disabler, the Cockatrice can use its petrifying gaze ability to slow its enemies, bringing their charge to a crawl before dousing them with acidic vomit to apply heavy poison and striking with its mighty claws. Okay, so yeah, it's a debuffer, but it's going to be really, really good at melee attacks. Yeah, super keen on this, really super keen. I guess the vomit is going to be like a breath attack, which kind of makes sense. Yeah, overall, really, really happy about this. It's, again, one of the units I've been looking forward to the most. Obviously, not as much as the Vortex Beast itself, which we'll get into a little bit later, but it was just always a shame that we had the Manticore and not the Cockatrice. I was always kind of worried that we were just never going to see it. So yeah, just generally really happy about this. God damn. I'm not sure these guys are available for the Warriors of Chaos, though I imagine that they will be, and I imagine that these units from this DLC will also benefit other factions, so it kind of makes sense. It's one of these things where Chaos DLC should benefit other Chaos factions. Hey, crossing my fingers here, we'll find out soon enough, I guess. And now we've got the final unit for Tzaangors. I know it's not a lot, but this is a big ticket item. This is the Mutalith Vortex Beast, something from the Warriors of Chaos roster, funny enough. A lot of people have been really pumped up about it, and I can't blame you considering that it's one of the more unique looking monsters. So let's read over the description. The Vortex Beast is an abomination that should not exist. A terrifying fusion of monster and magic, this creature has been mutated beyond any justifiable reason by the forces of chaos. Just a little bit of a jump in here. It's not just monsters that can become a Mutalith Vortex Beast. It's also the fact that humans can do that too. We know about that in lore, where tribe leaders have mutated to this rather than just a generic Chaos Spawn, because this is actually just like one of the hyper mutated Chaos Spawns, essentially. Anyways, let's continue. It is trailed by a raw ball of chaos magic that is anchored to it, warping and twisting reality wherever it steps. Its flesh stripped from its body, sucked into the vortex atop its back, before being remolded and fused back onto the creature. God, I love these descriptions for these units. The battlefield changes and mutates with every step this beast takes. I wonder if that's going to be a visual thing. I mean, it kind of looks like it because there's a little bit of like shadow on the left-hand side. But yeah, let's continue. As a monster of raw magical destruction, the Vortex Beast uses its aura of mutation passive Hex to deal direct damage over time to the area surrounding it. But that's not all the Vortex can do. With the gift of mutation, nearby friendly units gain increased offensive bonuses. Okay, so there is a good reason to actually bring this into combat. That's actually really, really good. And with the Tides of Transformation passive, the Vortex Beast can activate a Matter Explosion, a self-activated destination that inflicts magical damage and severe knockback with a survivor suffering from disorientation. Dude, this sounds freaking epic. Yeah, I'm really, really happy about this. The fact is, this is, again, one of the coolest miniatures. So I'm really pumped up that it's going to be here in Total War finally, because I know a lot of people have been requesting it since the Warriors of Chaos were a thing. So yeah, it's been a long, long time now. Yeah, I can't wait to see how it performs in battle. Hopefully it's not too slow, because the Warriors of Chaos are decently fast moving, but big monsters are usually really, really slow. I really do hope that it can keep up, though there's nothing really against it. I believe the lore does say that they can charge quite heavily, so I hope that's kind of represented. In general, yeah, super pumped up. I think that this is going to be good. Honestly, so far, I'm quite keen. I really like the idea of making the Changeling just something more cult aspect, more symbiotic and so on, because he hides in the shadows. He's never up and in front, you know? Or at least you never know if he's up and in front, because he normally takes the form of something else or someone else. So again, I think that this is going to be a good way of representation for Tzaangors in general, and obviously the Changeling. Yeah, if we're going to get stylized mechanics like this for monogods, this is going to be quite interesting. It definitely raises the bar for monogod factions, which makes me quite excited because, you know, we're expecting Tamakon next, right? And then loads of other characters like T'Challa, possibly Skulltaker. There's a lot of characters. And I was kind of worried that monogod factions were just going to stay base game because, well, you have to think about it this way. They already have a lot of mechanics. They launched as a base game faction with a lot more unique mechanics that we're totally used to, because obviously you've got the cult mechanic, you've got like the special battle mechanic, a special currency which has something else, obviously then the whole ascendancy thing. So it's a lot more, and I was like, oh god, you know, this might mean that we might not get nothing, but you know, the Changeling is getting 2 new mechanics. Yeah, I'm feeling fairly confident that the Monogods are going to get really good DLCs in terms of styling. Obviously, we're going to have to see it in practice and see if everything works, because you never know, especially with Creative Assembly. Not trying to sound mean here, but you know, sometimes things get added in which don't work as intended. We're going to have to wait and see. Hopefully it won't be too long until I can start actually playing this and showcasing stuff off. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. Hopefully you guys are excited. I kind of am too. Yep, I'll see you all again very, very soon. We do know that they do have a Changeling Let's Play coming out soon. So hopefully that won't be too long now and we can actually see some proper gameplay. But yeah, have a good day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.